Now, today's webinar is about auto presets and the one-click connect philosophy. Now, I want to just talk about that for a minute, and then we'll continue from there. As you're all familiar, modeling is about entering members and then connecting them. So most of your time is spent in making your connections. So for example, if I were to zoom in over here and use the stiffened end plate macro, for example, between a beam and a beam, and create a connection, the connection is created immediately with a single click. It takes 1 second. But after this, I might not be happy with these results. And it might be that I want to change a few things. And what could these things be? Maybe I want to change the thickness of the plate. And for that, I need to think. I need to remember what thickness I typically used for maybe an IP 200 section. So I could go in and say, oh, I think I need a 10 millimeter plate over here, something like that. Then I could be thinking about the number of bolts and thinking that, 2 bolts is not enough. So I need to uh, maybe put 6 bolts in there, something like this. And for this also, I need to maybe remember, what my company standards are and things like that. I need to probably think about the bolt diameter. Maybe I need to change the bolt diameter to something else. I need to think about the welds over there and maybe make a decision about what weld size. Decisions are small decisions, but even if you are a experienced user, experienced steel detailer, it will still take you some time. So I would also need to think about the distance between these bolts, right? Because depending on the bolt diameter which I'm using, I might need to make this 60, or if it's a bigger diameter, something else, and the distance to the side of the plate, and all those little things which go into steel detailing. So as you can appreciate, even a single connection might take me maybe 1 or 2 minutes. And if I'm not a very experienced user, then this process could take much longer. Because when I'm not experienced, if let's say I'm a young engineer or a young detailer, and I don't have much experience, and I'm basically trying to learn on the job, then I'll probably ask other people and try to remember from what I did in some other job and stuff like that. And this means that even making a single connection might take me several more minutes than an experienced user. And if you think about it, all you're doing in steel detailing is making these connections, right? And if each connection, instead of taking maybe just a few seconds, is taking you a few minutes, then you can well imagine that the total impact of this will be amplified. And we need to come up with a system, we need to do something which allows us to make connections literally in 1 second without thinking. And they should apply the connections which we use in our company as our company standards, right? That's the whole idea of one-click connect. You just click and you connect and you're happy with the results. If you can do that, if you can set up COMOSYS in such a way that that becomes possible, then your modeling time can be reduced drastically. This is not an over-exaggeration. You could reduce your modeling time from 1 month to maybe just 5, 6 days, just simply because everything has been set up and you're working much, much faster. Now, there's several files involved in ensuring that the one-click connect and the auto presets system, they work and they work nicely. And the purpose of this webinar is to kind of take you through very quickly through those files and through those basically technologies which exist in the background so that you can set it up yourself. Now, the first thing which is very important, the first file which is very important, is called the what if you go to the file menu, under the file menu, it's called the project preferences file. And if you were to click on it, it basically gives you a lot of information about a lot of things you can set up over here, but regarding plates and all the decisions you make regarding plates, regarding bolts, regarding welds, regarding other things, clearances, detailing styles, which you make, all the decision that you make in your when you're entering into a macro, the parameters of a macro. If you remember, we talked about the interbolt distances. So what should be the distance between the bolt in the direction of the load? What should be the difference, the distance of the bolt to the edge of the plate? You can enter all these for different bolt diameters over here, for example, and things like that. And this file really helps you understand how this becomes a really important part of the background process. Let me just go to the help menu over here and go to documentation. And if you go to documentation, there is something called environment setting files used by COMOSYS, right? If you double click on this, just trying to guide you so that you don't waste we don't waste time now, and you can always go if you go to scroll down if you go all the way, the project preferences file is over here. It says page 23. So let's go down over there. Yeah, it says the project preferences file. And this in detail will explain to you all the parameters which you can set up to ensure that your one-click design, your one-click connect technology works. What the major things it will do for you as far as macros are concerned, and just opening up this file so that you know where to find it and you can read it later. The major thing which it will do for you is things like the interbolt distances. Now, normally you would, if you remember, I needed to enter these interbolt distances manually. Similarly, the things like available plate thicknesses. So you can have some plate thickness in mind, but the plate thickness might not be available. So it covers in the available plate thicknesses in the market. It covers things like interbolt distances, etc. Some parameters related to welds, etc. as well. So those things will come from project preferences. This is just to start off the topic. This is a very important file. Don't forget where it is. It's under the file menu, under the project preferences menu. You can find the help where I showed you. Next, there are two more files I want to talk about. One is called the angle gauge distances file, and the other one is called the flange bolting file. Now, these are files which are used once again in certain macros. So, for example, if we talk about, let me open up that help file again. If we go up over here on page 11, this is a file called the angle gauge distances file. This is a file which tells COMOSYS that whenever angles are involved in the connection, what should be the gauge distances? The gauge distances if one bolt is required, or the gauge distances if two bolts are required. And this file is present. You can find this file. So here is the explanation of the file in the help file, and a sample of the file. But where can you find this file? All you need to do is if you go to this button, the preferences folder, and you go to your company folder over here, for example, it takes you to the preferences folder under your environment. And if you go over at the top, you see this angle gauge distances. Now, if I double click on that, it basically gives you the side length. So let's say the side length is 60. It says that the bolt which you can place should be 35 millimeters from the back of the angle with a side length of 60. And the maximum bolt diameter you can use is 16. Similarly, if it's a 100 millimeter angle, then you can place it at a distance of 55 millimeters. This is the gauge length. Now, after a certain point, it increases. So if you want to put one bolt line, then it should be at 60, for example, for an angle of 110. But if you want to put two bolt lines, then the first one should be at 40 and the second one should be at 70 from the back of the angle. And the bolt size you can use maximum is 24. So you can set up this file. And once you set up this file, automatically COMOSYS will start using it. So let me just quickly do an example over here. For example, here is, let me just delete these. Here is an angle of 100 millimeter leg length. And here's an angle of 60 millimeter leg length. Let me just go quickly down and do a bolted gusset connection. So let me just click, right click the beam, click the thing. And if you notice, I didn't make any settings, which is the whole idea of one-click connect, right? Now, if I were to go like that, if you see over here, if I were to, for example, under the edit menu, if I can create a construction line over here between this and this over here. Now this is a 100 angle of 100. So if I measure the distance, if I were to say measure distance from the back of the angle to the bolt axis, you can see it's 55 millimeters. This is exactly the number which was entered in the file. I did not have to enter this inside the macro. Normally, I would have to go inside the macro and actually enter this number somehow. I would have to go inside, find the secondary, then in one of these boxes, this will be a learning curve as well. I'll need to enter 55 and something like that. But because of this technology which we have, which uses this angle gauge distances file, I didn't need to do that. This one is a 60 by 6 angle. This one should be at 35 millimeters from the back. And once again, I didn't enter anything. So let me just quickly see what it has done. If I do that and I measure the distance from here to here, it should be 35 millimeters. So this file is extremely useful. You can find the help on it. And this will work with wherever angles are occurring, even if they're single angles or if they're twin angles, like back-to-back angles or cross angles or anything of the sort. Now, another example I can do is of flange bolting. So let's come over here. So this is an I-beam, HEA 300. Let's say I make a haunch connection over here. Now, one thing which always takes time is whenever you place bolts on the flange of an I-section or on the flange of a channel, the exact location of the bolt is specified by the standards. So it'll say, for example, that for HEA 300, the bolts need to be placed exactly at a certain point. And normally, if I did not have the one-click connect technology, I would need to go inside my macro and find the location of the bolts over here, for example, and enter some number over here to ensure that the right bolt axis on the flange of the beam is chosen. But in this case, because it's an HEA 300, I have this other file which we talked about. Let me go back over there. This other file called the flange bolting text, bolting distances. This is another file which is used in the background. And where does this file reside? Once again, the explanation is in this help file. You can read it, or exactly the meaning of E1, E2, E3, and these flange bolting distances. If there's a single bolt, if there are two bolts, where should they be? But where does it reside? Once again, you go to the preferences folder from here, and you go to flange bolting. So if you just scroll down, you'll find this file over here called flange bolting distances. If I double click on that, you will see that I have HEA 300, was it? Yes, HEA 300, I think it was. So it says that the distance should be 60 millimeters from the middle, from the axis of the beam. Now to check that, I can let me first see if this is HEA 300. It is HEA 300. Now let me just go into the plan view. And I can go like that, right click, measure the distance from this bolt to this bolt, and you can see it's 120, so 60 to the center, 60 to the center, and then 120 across to the other bolt. And I did not have to enter this. Normally, I would have to, like I said, go inside and enter these numbers over here, and this will take time. And the whole idea of one-click design, one-click connect, is to not waste time at all. The whole idea is to go to connect with a single click, and that's what I'm trying to show. That once you are familiar with all these files and you take the time to set them up, most of them are already set up. So off the shelf, when you buy COMOSYS, you will get these numbers inside. But if you want to add for some other environment, or if you want to add certain other profiles which maybe don't exist, then it'll be extremely easy to set up these files. You can go and read the help if needed. Now, the next topic I want to talk about is what we call MPR files, the macro preset files. And this is something which is very, very useful. So let's come over here. Let's say it's a beam to beam. And let's say I want to create a fin plate connection between the two. Now, if I go in there and I say connect this one to this one, now this is an IPE 160. The secondary beam is an IPE 160. Now it makes this connection, but I don't like it, right? And this is not according to what I would do in my company. So I go inside and I go to the general tab, for example, and I say, okay, I don't want this to be 24. I want this to be 25 millimeters. I want this one to be 50 millimeters. And this one can be 55. And then I don't want a second line of bolts. So I just want one line of bolts. So I want this one to be 0. So I want something like this. I want just one line of bolts, and I want these to be the distances. And secondly, I maybe want the plate thickness, instead of 8 millimeters, to be 10 millimeters. So I want it slightly thicker. This is the way I'm happy with making connections when the secondary is IPE 160. This is my company standard. Now, instead of wasting this time, 1 minute, 2 minutes, which I did right now, instead of wasting this time every single time, what I can do is I can go inside my macro and go to my macro presets and say save, and give what the current settings a name. And like usually a good idea is to give the same name as the name of the profile. So I'm going to call it IPE 160. So now IPE 160 has been saved. Now what this will allow me to do is, let's say I delete this one, this existing one, and let's say I apply the connection again from here to here, right click. This gives me the default connection. Now, if I can go inside and instead of wasting those few minutes, which I did over there, all I need to do is just go to my macro presets, recall my IPE 160, say load, and say okay. And I just load that, and that one is applied automatically. So I don't waste 2 minutes, but I waste maybe 10, 15 seconds by going and finding that particular one. Let me do another example over here. So this one is IPE 200. Maybe in this case, I want a slightly different connection. Maybe I want something like, if I don't like that, I can go inside. Once again, I can say, instead of 95, I can make this 25 over here. I can make this 50 space 50, maybe 2 bolts over there. I'm sorry. And this one is 0, that's fine. So yeah, maybe I want bolts like that. And maybe I actually do want this full stiffener as well. And the plate can be 12 millimeters in this case, right? So maybe I'm happy with this one. I can go inside and say save. And this one is IPE 200, so I can call it IPE 200. And I save them, and now I have 2 presets, the IPE 160 and IPE 200. They're saved inside the macro. And like I said, once again, this time, let me delete it and reapply it. Right click. and it gives me the default connection. Instead of wasting 2-3 minutes on doing all that, I just go to my presets, load the particular one which I want, and that particular connection is applied. And normally, if in any company, you would have maybe 20, 30, 40 different sizes of beams which you use. So you can imagine a scenario in which you create 20, 30, 40 different presets for all those cases. Now, what's going to be, what will happen is, these presets, this list over here will start getting longer and longer. So you'll have IP 160, 180, 200, 220, 240, 260, 270, whatever, 300. And then maybe you'll have INP, and then maybe you'll have HEA 200. So this list will get maybe 30, 40, 50, 60 beams. So you'll have a long list. So you will come in and then you will choose from that list. And that choice itself might be a little time consuming, because if it's a very small list of just 2 members, then it's easier to choose. But if it's a long list, then you have to scroll and find the right one as well. Now, I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. But before I do that, I want to explain where these files are saved. Now, I created 2 preset files over here. One was called IPE160 for this one, and one preset was called IPE200 for this connection. Now, where are this? This is the fin plate connection. Now, where are they saved? If I go to my tools menu, under the tools menu, there's something called macro defaults, right? And if I go to macro defaults, and if I just start writing fin plate, I can see that the fin plate connection is over here. And if I select that and I say open the preset folder, by the way, whenever you save any preset, it's saved into your local directory, the model directory. So if I go and open the preset folder of the local, which means the model, if I do that, you will see these 2 files over here, IPE160, it has an extension of MPR, and IPE200 has an extension of MPR. MPR means macro preset. And if you see the directory structure, it's under your model, basically, and it's under the preferences directory and under macro settings. And under the macro settings, there's this difficult to understand number, but this basically represents your fin plate connection. So easiest way is to do it the way I just showed it to you. You see these 2 files over here, and these 2 files are in your local directory, in your local model directory. If you want to then use them in your company standards, so that every new model which you open, you have these files available. All you need to do is just maybe select these 2 files over here, right click, say copy, and then you basically go back to this one and you say open preset folder. And instead of choosing the local folder, you go to your company folder, and this one opens the same fin plate directory, but it's empty. So all you need to do is now right click and say paste. And if you do that, your company standards will now be changed. And then from now on, every model which you using this environment, the default environment. So in COMOSYS, as you know, we have multiple environments now. You can have as many environments as you want, but each environment has its own complete preferences. We'll talk about this in some other webinar. But if you just paste them over here, then those MPRs will be available. Now, let's continue. Now, so it's used in the same way. You can use as many you can use create MPRs for stiffen end plate connections. You can create MPRs for beam to beam end plate connections. All these connections, in fact, there's a certain list which you can create. Some of them might not be supported, and to find out about which ones are supported, which use actually all of them support the MPR system. But some of them, or most of them, actually support what we call auto MPRs, and I'll talk about that in a second as well. So, what is an auto MPR? What we did over here was, if you remember, if I delete this one, I had to when I was applying, the default connection was not the one I wanted, and then I had to go inside and actually choose from that list, from this list over here. And this itself took maybe a few seconds. Now, the same happened over here. If I just applied it directly, it didn't do exactly what I wanted, but the preset is there inside, and I can go and choose it if I want. But is there an even faster way of doing this? Can I actually make it one click connect? That I just go click, click, and it chooses the right MPR automatically. And to do that, there is something what we call the preset override files. And these files are also in the preferences directory over here. If you go over there, there's a list of these files. Once again, if I go to my help file over here, if I scroll down, there's something called auto presets files. It's on page 14 at the moment, but these page numbers keep changing. So it's auto preset files. And this gives you a list of all the macros. So there are many macros, in fact, almost all of them, which support these, only some are left out, which support this auto preset feature. So you can see for each one, you can see the macro preset override. So let's find the fin plate. So this is the one. This is the fin plate one, the one we are talking about. It says fin plate connection macro preset override dot text. This is the name of the file. It starts with the name of the macro fin plate and then macro preset override. This you'll find this text everywhere. So fin plate connection macro preset override. Let me just go and find this file for you now. So let me go to the preferences folder, company, and go to fin plate. Fin plate connections. This is the file. Fin plate connection macro preset override text. And if I double click on that, all I need to do is make a few entries. I can say whenever you see IPE 160, use the IPE 160.mpr file. And whenever you see IPE 200, use the IPE 200 MPR file. I'm just adding one entry for each section name and saving this file away, right? And once this file is saved, now you will see something different happening. If I go to my fin plate connection and I go like that, right click, and I go like that, right click, it is automatically creating the correct connections without me having to go inside and actually select that particular preset. It's automatically selecting the preset for me. Now, this is extremely useful because what it does is once you set up your entire system of COMOSYS in a way which has all the presets for all the macros, and you set up these connection preset files, and like I said, you can find the help over here. You can have the help on the format of the file, etc. So this is very, very useful. And once you get it once you set it up, what will happen is that it will actually become a one-click connect system, which means that you will basically now be connecting at this speed. You will be going like that, you'll be going like that, you'll be going like that, and you will not be worrying about the insides of the connection because those insides of the connection will be coming automatically. Now, this is extremely useful because if you have a large model, imagine wasting 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, even 1 minute on every one of these connections because you will get tired as well. It's human nature. We're not robots. We'll make 5 connections, then we'll stop for a sip of coffee maybe. So overall, we will lose a lot of time. But if we actually set up the system in such a way that we have one-click connect set up, then that will give us an opportunity where we can literally do the work of months in days. So this is extremely recommended by us that you use the one-click connect system, the project preferences file, the angle gauge distances file, the flange bolting file, the preset files, MPR files. You copy them to your company folder. Your auto preset files, which link the MPRs to the section names, and then you set up your system in such a way that you basically increase your productivity by dozens of times if in certain cases. Now, I'm going to stop over here. and go to and we